It's actually a really good day today. The sun is shining, the birds are singing, but the single most important thing? We've got biscuits in the biscuit tin, boys! Biscuits are on me! Hey! Ladies and gentlemen, welcome to another video. I'm TheXploder, and yes, there are plenty of biscuits in the biscuit tin. Fancy one? And as I said, they're on me. In this video, I'm going to give you a lowdown of the very first deck that I've built for Set 8, Reign of Jafar. And it was an idea that I had leading up to it that I've really enjoyed, especially in testing. So, without further ado, allow me to introduce you to Sapphire and Steel, Heroes of the Round Table! And here we are, Heroes of the Round Table. There's going to be a link to this down in the description below, so if you want to see it as you're following along with the video, absolutely. There will also be an example of this on the Discord server as well, and if you're not a part of the Discord server, have a look in the description and you can totally join the most explosive group on the planet later on. But the main trick of this is straightforward. We want relatively mid-range characters with relatively decent bodies or big bodies to take out big threats, and the capabilities of questing every single turn for a large amount, or at least laying down a board that is near enough impregnable. So, let's go over the list. We are running 50 characters, 4 actions, 2 songs, and 4 locations. Starting off with our 1-drops, we have 4 copies of the 1-drop Mickey Mouse Food Fight Defender. I personally love this Mickey Mouse. I think he is a fantastic steel 1-drop and will still stay a fantastic 1-drop this side of set rotation, so keep that in mind. He is a simple body, resist +1, but the main reason why we have that 1-drop Mickey is because we are also running 4 copies of the 5-drop Mickey Mouse Playful Sorcerer. We can shift him as early as turn 3. He's still got his resist 1. He quests for 2. He's now got a 3/4 body on him, and the broom effect we're not too concerned on. We're running no brooms in this deck. The main reason why we have this is for turn 3, if we're doing very, very bad, or if at any moment we can shift Mickey onto Playful Sorcerer Mickey, we now have a 5-cost character on board, which means we can then sing A Whole New World, which is going to be a key part of the tech, but we're going to talk about A Whole New World a little bit later on. Along with Mickey, our 1-drops also include Mulan, the Disguised Soldier. This Mulan is a fantastic hit for anything in steel, and in my personal opinion is a fantastic replacement for Fortisphere. I know you're going to be looking at this and thinking to yourself, oh, but you're drawing a card and then discarding a card, so is it a negative? Is it a plus? What is it? It evens itself out. Effectively, what you want to do, you want to play out your Mulan, draw a card, and then see what you have in your hand. If you have exactly what you need, get rid of a card that is just too high costed for right now in that situation. If you just don't have the card that you need, you can always discard the card you've just drawn. Basically, cycling is a good thing, and this deck needs cycling because of a character I'm going to be covering in a bit. We're also playing 4 copies of Simba the Future King. Effectively does the same thing as Mulan, but has the stat block switched around. You're going to see why I've ended up taking out Simba at the end of the video. We're also running 3 copies of Calhoun the Marine Sergeant. She's amazing, she's brilliant, she's the 2-drop everyone fears because of what she does. If she's able to bop someone and get rid of them, you get 2 lore, and with this body she's absolutely fine, and we do have ways in this deck to make her free attack go to 6, which makes her crazy destructible. We're also running 2 copies of Doc the Bald Knight. Now I only own 2 copies, so that's why there's only 2 copies here. I can maybe see taking him up to 3, but not maxing him out of 4. He effectively does what we need when we have no cards in our hand. We can just play him, not discard anything, draw 2 cards, and even if we only have 1 card in our hands, let's say it's not the best card in the world, we can warrant discarding it and draw 2 cards to potentially get the things we do need for right now. And our last of the 2-drops are the 2-drop Mr. Smee Bumbling Mate. He's got a great body on him, he quests for 2 every turn. Yes, he does take a damage whenever he's exerted, but that's not a problem. You're going to be questing for 2 every turn, and your opponent's going to be looking at this Smee going, really? Smee on turn 2? There's a reason why people hate this Smee, and as long as he's legal in Core Constructed, keep using him. As simple as. Now for the swanky tech. You may have seen this card used more in the last set, and she is a keeper. It is Alice, the Savvy Sailor, the 3-cost uninkable 1/4 for 2 with Ward And whenever this character quests, another chosen character of yours gets +1 lore and gains ward until the start of your next turn. It's a fantastic combo piece. Even if you just have Alice and let's say Mr. Smee, for example, that is a 5 lore play with 2 cards. And it means Mr. Smee now has ward. Bear in mind, ward does not mean he gets away with not being able to damage himself. You still need a captain on board, or a way to remove that damage, or a way to give him resist +1 to rectify this effect. But that's not a problem. You're still going to be questing for a lot, and this Alice is an absolute unit. Even if you don't quest for a couple of turns, put a few Alices out and your opponent's suddenly going to think, oh god, the maps is dangerous!
The numbers don't lie, and they spell disaster for you!
And to pair up with Alice, we are also running 4 copies of Wendy Darling, Authority on Peter Pan. 3 cost inkable, 3/1 for 2 with ward and support. This is how we get Calhoun up to 6. This is how we get Smee up to 6. This is how we get Simba up to 4, and even Mulan up to 5. This play by herself is incredibly scary. I think a lot of people look over the fact that Wendy is a free one, so she's easy to get off board. But you've got to bear in mind, even if your opponent's using something like a Mim Fox, for example, Fox goes into Wendy, Fox is gone. Fox is not staying out on the board, and because Wendy has ward, your opponent's not going to be picking Wendy for anything like Sapphire Coil to reduce her attack. Her attack's going to stay there and be a problem. So she is a fantastic card. Highly recommend using her this side of rotation as well. Absolute unit in this deck. But here is where we get into some of our new set tech. It is Arthur, Determined Squire. As soon as I saw this card, I wanted to build a deck around him, and this is the deck to do it. It is a 4-cost inkable 6/6 for free, which is mental, with one downside. You skip your turn's draw step, so you just do not draw cards at the start of your turn. But this is why we have tech like Doc that lets us discard our hand and draw a couple of cards, which you can do without a hand in the first place. You have tech like Mulan and Simba to cycle through your hand if you just want to get rid of certain things. We also have tech like A Whole New World to immediately refill your hand with 7 cards, so even if you do have Arthur out, it's fine, you still got 7 cards in your hand, you can make that work. There also is another new card in this deck, also say a couple of cards in this deck, but also helps us with this situation. But quite frankly, I love Arthur. If you're on curve and you put Arthur down on turn 4, the amount of times I've had my opponents look at me and just go, well, how the hell do I deal with that? It's nuts. I think the most consistent way my opponent got over Arthur was to use it in conjunction with Emerald Chromacon. And I think it was Emerald Chromacon, Rourke to give him Reckless, and then me charge into something with Arthur, having to get rid of something. Chromacon triggers Arthur back to my hand, but at least you get your draw step back. There is 0 minuses to this. He's inkable, so if you can't play him straight away, or if you don't want to play him straight away, you can just fill up your inkwell. But as much as you may be scared by the downside of not having a draw step, don't be scared. This Arthur's fantastic and you can work around him. A core piece of a deck that I love a hell of a lot.
Hail King Arthur! Long live the king!
Here's another card that I thought was going to be a bit of a sleeper hit, and definitely was. The 4-cost inkable 3/4 Stitch Alien Troublemaker. I was really happy to see this Stitch when he came out, and now he's here, and dare I say, he is on par with Calhoun for me. I absolutely love him. So he's a 4-cost inkable 3/4 for 1. With I Win. During your turn, whenever this character banishes another character in the challenge, you may draw a card and gain 1 lore. So, it has a similar effect to Calhoun, but it doesn't have resist, and you only get 1 lore off of the banishment, but you do get a card. So the idea is, if you have Arthur out, you can then play Stitch, and then as long as Stitch is able to bop something, and oh no, if they're a really big threat, you have Wendy to make him bigger, potentially turning him into a 6/4. You can bop into something, get rid of them, draw a card, and gain a lore, which is the same amount of lore he would have been getting if he quested anyway. We also have a mini way to heal off damage as well in this deck that can also help us win the game. This Stitch has worked out a lot more than I thought he would, so don't sleep on him. I don't think he works in every single deck, and I think at a 4-drop I'm still 50-50 on whether I want to keep him at 4 or drop him down and mix him up with a few things, but as of right now, he is still putting in that work. The other card that we're talking about when it comes to healing our characters is Baymax the Armored Companion. 3 copies of him, 5 cost inkable 2/6 for 2, and whenever you play this character and whenever he quests, I can move up to 2 damage from another chosen character of yours and gain 1 lore for each 1 damage removed this way. You can use this in conjunction with Smee when he has 2 damage on him, remove that 2, gain 2 lore, and now you have a 2/6 out on the board ready to do that every single turn, and it's another threat your opponent has to deal with. As I've said, you could do it with Stitch, you could do it with any of your characters. Alice, if she has a little bit of damage on her. He's just a net worth brilliant card. You would normally play this Baymax alongside the 4-drop Pluto that has bodyguard and has +4 attack if he's undamaged, which is a perfectly fantastic combo, and another reason why you may want to take out the Stitch if you fancy the Pluto instead for a little bit more defense. But for what he does, I think he's absolutely fantastic. Love this Baymax to bits. We've already gone over the Mickey, so now we go into a brand new 5-drop that came out with Reign of Jafar, Namari, the single-minded rival. If you saw my Reddit post that went absolutely crazy about this card, yes, I personally think this is the best Namari card we have gotten in the game. There have been some quirky ones, but this one's fantastic. So she has a 5-cost inkable 0/5 for 2 with Strategic Edge, which is when you play this character and at the start of your turn, you may draw a card and then choose and discard a card. And Extreme Focus. This character gets +1 attack for each card in your discard. That is every single card. Doesn't matter if it's an item, action, character, song, location, you name it. As long as there are cards in your discard, that is the attack value that this Namari has. She can get huge quick, but we're not really concerned with how big Namari can get. It's not the size that matters in this case. Namari is fantastic because she's a 5-drop for still quests for 2. She immediately becomes a threat on the board, because if you're also playing something like Arthur, and let's say I have something in my hand that's just not working for me, I may need something else for what my opponent has on the board. Before I even initiate my draw step, which is non-existent because of Arthur anyway, I can still draw a card and discard a card. Even if I didn't have any cards in hand and I had the ideal board in front of me, I can just draw a card, discard the card, and Namari gets buffed off of that effect by herself, making her an absolute unit on the board. Her presence alone should be scary, her tech is really cool, and quite frankly, if you can't get her out, you can ink her. It's absolutely fine. Fantastic hit for the deck, especially on our top end. And the last top end pick that we have, because we are running Determined Squire, is finally a use for Arthur, King Victorious. A 7-cost uninkable 3/6 for 3, shift 5, and whenever you play this character, chosen character gains Challenger +2, Resist +2, and can challenge ready characters this turn. Now this Arthur sounds great. On paper, brilliant. In conjunction with the new Arthur, sounds fantastic. You can shift onto him the turn after you've played the other Arthur. You still quest for free. Another one of your characters gets really, really strong. You can get rid of a big threat on the board. This Arthur puts in the work, right? You'd be strange to find. I actually found myself bricking in my hands simply because of this card. This card was not actually pulling it out for me. I'll go into more detail later, but this was a quirky pick. And as much as it was a quirky pick, it just didn't work out for me personally. Now we move on to our actions. There's only 4, and it's Sail the Azurite Sea, a little bit of card draw, a little bit of extra ink on a turn, and there's a reason why I've changed this one out. I'll go into that in a bit. Next we have A Whole New World, a key component of the deck, because thanks to Arthur, we're going to be skipping on our draw steps. And thanks to the use of Mulan, Simba and Namari, we're going to be doing a lot of drawing and discarding cards, so sometimes we're going to need to get a full set of 7 cards into our hand. The problem with A Whole New World is that you want to time it so that it screws your opponent more and benefits you more. If you play it wrong and it benefits your opponent at the same time that it benefits you, it's gonna be a little bit dead. But sometimes you're gonna have to risk it and do that if you want your game plan to come to fruition. 9 out of 10 times you can even sit on a whole new world or even discard a whole new world with Doc if you want to benefit off of drawing a couple of cards, but you can risk not having a full set of 7 if you don't want to. There's a reason why it's only at 2, and it's simply because it's fair if you need it, and if you don't need it, don't worry about it. And the very last 4 copies we have in the deck is 4 copies of McDuck Manor. There is a reason why this is one of the best locations in the game. And if you want me to go into more detail about the best locations in Lorcana, I've actually made a video about it. But you can check right over here. There should be a little thing coming up on screen that you can check out in a bit after this video. Because yes, this is one of the best locations in the game. Big body. Easy to travel to if you are using location tech, which we're not specifically doing. The main reason why we have it in the deck, as a 4-drop, it's huge, it's scary, it intimidates your opponent, and if they can wipe the board with something like Be Prepared, guess what? McDuck Manor stays on the board, so they need to clear the board with absolutely everything as best as they can. This can be a card that can easily win you games. So that's the list, but let's go over some things that didn't quite work in the deck that I have made amendments to in version 2. So, first things first, Mickey Mouse, beautiful. The Mickey tech worked beautifully. It was one of the best parts of the deck. So was Mulan. Simba as a 1-drop, no. I ended up inking Simba more than using him, and the main reason was because I only really needed Mulan early on to do the drawing and the discarding. By having Simba doing it as well, 9 out of 10 times whenever I played Simba, I had already used Mulan, I had done a draw and a discard, and I didn't necessarily want to do that again, so he either went into my inkwell, or I played him but didn't use his effect, and then I just have a 1-2 on the board. That's pretty darn weak. It can't get rid of a lot of opponents unless your opponents are playing something like Hyper Aggro that has a lot of weak characters anyway that you can just easily bop into, and it effectively just becomes a dead card. So Simba, as much as I love him, was the first to come out of the deck. I've already talked about my 50-50 on Stitch. At the moment, he is still in my deck as 4 because he is putting in the work, and when you don't need him, you can ink him, which is incredibly useful. And at this stage in the game, when we're at our basically what our equivalent of a top end is in this deck, because we're very mid-range heavy, you only really need him in very certain scenarios. Quite frankly, he is putting in the work for me, but I could see the argument of taking 2 out and maybe putting 2 of the bodyguard Plutos in so I have a healthy balance, I would say. Hard to tell at the moment, but Stitch is still in the deck, but I can perfectly understand if you want to try this deck at home and take Stitch out. Quite frankly, Arthur was just bad. Like I said, I bricked more times than I absolutely used him whenever I played the deck. Every time I got him into my hand, I didn't have Determined Squire out, or I was lacking behind on the ink, just enough to the point where I just was not able to shift onto him, and even then, I didn't even want to shift onto him, because when I go from having a 6/6 character, which is very intimidating, to a 3/6 character, that's much easier to bop into. So I've made the decision to take him out, but I think the replacements I've made have definitely benefited the deck overall. The next one is Sail the Azurite Sea. As much as it definitely helps, you don't need a lot of ink to make this deck go brr, in all fairness. So, I didn't really need to ink twice or have any form of ramp in this deck. I've switched this out for a different card, and I'll go over the list for version 2 in a minute in case you're interested. And yeah, it did the job. It was perfectly fine. I just felt as if I didn't need necessarily the other part of Sail of putting out another ink in my inkwell. It was a bit of a waste. But there you go. That is Heroes of the Round Table. Once I've been able to play the second version at my locals, I'm going to be making another video talking about how that deck worked and whether I've changed anything for version 3. I normally try doing 3 iterations of a deck in video form. If it gets that far, it may not even get that far. Version 2 may be the best version of it that I like. But do you like this version of the deck? Is there anything you would do to change it? Or would you interested in trying it in one of your local games. Let me know your thoughts over in the comments section down below. And whilst you're down there, check on the description for all my social links if you want to chill out with me anywhere and everywhere. And one last thing, while you are down there, there's a pretty big button there that says subscribe, and if you do that with a notification bell, you'll be notified whenever I do post a video up so you never miss it again. Because trust me, apparently a lot of you guys miss them, even though I try my best to put at least 2 videos out a week. Yeah, don't miss it again. But with all that being done, I'll be seeing you guys on the next Lorcana video. Until then, stay safe, stay awesome, but most importantly, stay explosive. And I'll be seeing you guys next time. No, I fancy a biscuit. Well, they're not just for you, they're for me as well. I bought the biscuits. It's about time I get some too. Get your own damn bickies. These are mine.